Estaba haciendo colegio industrial, yo estudiaba química. Y un 21 de septiembre, por eso me acuerdo siempre, salía para ir a pasear con mis compañeros y pasé por la iglesia de Flores. Yo iba a la iglesia de Flores. Y ahí entré, se me dio, sentí que tenía que entrar. Esas cosas que vos sentías adentro que no sabés cómo son. Y veo que venía un cura caminando, que no lo conocía, no era de la iglesia. Y ahí yo no sé qué me pasó. Sentí como que alguien me agarró de adentro y me llevó al confesionario. Evidentemente que yo le conté mis cosas, me confesé. Cuando terminé de confesarme, le pregunté al padre de dónde era, porque no lo conocía. Me dijo, no, yo soy de Corrientes.
But I've been in Buenos Aires for a while now.
Really, Father? I'd never seen you around here before.
The truth is, I don't come very often, son. Just every now and then to celebrate Mass. As long as God has me here, my days are in His hands.
I don't understand. Are you going back to your hometown, or do you have other plans?
My health is failing.
Y tenía un cáncer, una leucemia, murió el año siguiente.
Bergoglio's day is full of constant prayer, and that's reflected in his life.
A true desire to trigger change in the church, a leadership style that's very different.
He tries to connect with others in a very special way.
He just radiates all that spirituality he has within.
That need to be with others, by their side, to assist and help those who suffer. He was always like that.
Y ahí sentí que tenía que ser cura, pero no dudé, no dudé.
Orazione dedicata Santa Ecclesia.
Habemus Papa. Dominum Georgium Marium, Sancte Romani Ecclesiae Cardinalem Bergoglio.
It seemed like just another Monday in the Eternal City. No one expected it would turn into a historic day for the Catholic Church. During a meeting with cardinals, Benedict XVI, known as a conservative pope, made an unprecedented announcement that broke away from centuries of tradition.
Conscientia mea iterum ad viterum coram Deo explorata, ad conditionem certam perveni, viris meas, in gravescente etate, non iam aptas esse ad monus Petrinum eque administrandum.
6 centuries had passed since a pope had resigned. In Rome and all around the world, Catholics were shocked. Pope Benedict said he was resigning because the Catholic Church needed a stronger pope who could guide the ship. It was a challenging time, The Vatican had made headline news when confidential documents were leaked to the press after being taken from the Pope's desk. The incident showed that the Vatican needed new energy to start a different chapter, a new era that would put an end to suspicion and mistrust. Once he announced his resignation, cardinals began arriving to Rome from every corner of the world. It was time to address this emergency and to elect a new pope. Vatican officials carefully began preparing everything for the conclave. It's one of the most elaborate rites in the Catholic Church, filled with ancient symbols and traditions. It all happens inside the Sistine Chapel. These stoves are silent witnesses of the election. They announce if cardinals have reached a consensus. In another room, the Pope's vestments are being prepared. 3 white cassocks, made by Roman tailor Gamarelli, in small, medium, or large, to fit the new pontiff. On Tuesday, March 12th, one by one, cardinals walked into the Sistine Chapel. In front of Michelangelo's Final Judgment fresco, they swear to not tell anyone about their discussions or vote.
Tego Georgius Marius, Cardinalis Bergoglio, Spondio Voveo Adiuro, sic me Deus adiuvet, et ac Sancta Dei Evangelia, que manum me atango.
Extra omnes.
Electing a new pope isn't easy. A candidate must receive a 2/3 majority. Each cardinal writes the name of his candidate on a small ballot. Outside, in St. Peter's Square, tens of thousands wait to see if a new pope is elected. But black smoke emerges, meaning no pope. After a 5th round of voting, white smoke finally spreads into the night sky. The world is about to be surprised.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum. Habemus papam. Eminentissimum ac reverentissimum Dominum Georgium Marium, Sancte Romani Ecclesiae Cardinalem Bergoglio, qui sibi nomen imposuit Franciscum.
Voi sapete che il dovere del conclave era di dare un vescovo a Roma. Sembra che i miei fratelli cardinali sono andati a prenderlo quasi alla fine del mondo, ma siamo qui.
The story of Jorge Mario Bergoglio starts here in the Flores neighborhood in Buenos Aires. He grew up in this middle-class residential area with his 4 siblings. His father, Mario, an Italian immigrant, was an accountant. His mother, Regina, was a housewife.
Papá trabajaba, mamá.
Dad worked, and Mom was at home taking care of her 5 children. In terms of money, we didn't have much.
Y todo dentro de un marco de austeridad.
When Jorge turned 13, he began to work as a cleaner in a hosiery factory. Later, he worked in the administration department. Then, while he was studying chemistry, he got a job at a food testing lab. Both at home and at work, he developed a character devoted to serving others. His life changed at the age of 17 when he unexpectedly heard God's call to become a priest. His father backed his decision, but his mother, Regina, was against it.
Ella sí se había enojado mucho cuando...
She was really angry when Jorge said he wanted to be a priest.
Pero era el primer hijo que...
He was the first among us to spread his wings and fly.
Entonces
It was the fact that he was leaving, so she would have had the same reaction if he had said he was marrying or if he was leaving for another country.
But
eventually she was happy, very happy with his decision.
Pero dar el sí de que
But blessing his departure wasn't easy.
More than 3 years went by before he entered a diocesan seminary. There, he became acquainted with Jesuit spirituality and soon after decided to join the order. He was drawn by its fame as the church's vanguard army, as a disciplined, obedient, and missionary force.
él quería ser misionero.
He wanted to be a missionary in Africa, Asia.
Al Asia, las autoridades nunca se lo...
His superiors never allowed it because of his health problems.
Porque él entró.
He joined the Jesuits when he was recovered from a lung operation that almost cost him his life.
De su operación de pulmón.
They cared for him quite closely.
Cuesta la vida. Entonces,
you obviously need great health to be a missionary.
Y evidentemente lo que se vive.
Because that life is full of sacrifices and it's extremely hard.
De hierro, porque es muy sacrificado.
It has been said that he is missing one of his lungs, but that's not true. A portion was taken out because a few cysts were found in it. This caused him great pain. It must have been terrible because he is a person who has suffered a lot, so he already had a high tolerance for pain.
While he was preparing to be a priest, he taught literature and philosophy in the Jesuit College of Santa Fe. He became a priest at the age of 33 and continued his studies in Spain. In 1973, when he was 36, he was named the Provincial Father of the Jesuits in Argentina. He was put in charge of 15 houses, 166 priests, 32 brothers, and 20 students. He was appointed during a very difficult time. Both the church and his country faced serious challenges. Some Catholic groups were manipulating the ideas of the Second Vatican Council to make them suit their own interests. There was confusion about church doctrine and liturgy. Many priests stopped preaching and instead were engaged in social or political activities. Others left the priesthood altogether. Some joined the guerrillas.
After Pope John XXIII said that the church needed to open its windows, some people took advantage of that idea and decided to jump out of the windows. It wasn't about letting air in, but about escaping.
En América Latina surgió.
Liberation theology was born in Latin America. In the beginning, it was very much marked by a Marxist methodology and by its violent tendencies.
Marxista o por tendencias de violencia.
It was a difficult time in every sense. Jesuits who were educated in a pre-conciliar time were suddenly working in a post-conciliar era. There was a lot of disorder.
So people who were married or ordained suddenly said, forget this, I'll just get out. As if it were no big deal. Just another thing in life.
I think one of his greatest accomplishments was to set order in the province. Jesuits couldn't just do whatever they wanted. But there was a time when that would happen.
It was also a difficult time for Argentinian society. In May 1976, a military coup imposed a period of dictatorship that sparked a civil war. Those who helped the poor, including priests, were treated as suspects and opponents of the official regime. They could be arrested and tortured. Amid this political climate, Jorge Bergoglio's job was anything but easy.
He looked into what every single Jesuit was doing. He wanted to know if they were engaged in something that could be dangerous. He tried to help them out, to spare them the risks, without limiting their actions, especially if they dealt with social issues in a poor neighborhood. This is how he saved many Jesuits. If he thought it was best to move them somewhere, he did. One of them was wanted by the army, so we had to call Jorge. He managed to hide him and eventually saved him.
During a military crackdown, Jorge Bergoglio hid priests in the Jesuit headquarters and helped some of them flee the country. He also lent his personal documents to a priest who looked like him so that he could cross the border into Brazil. It was clearly a risky decision.
I know two men for whom he did everything he could to help. He got them out of Argentina and most probably saved their lives.
But he also provoked suspicion. In May 1976, Jesuit priests Orlando Yorio and Francisco Yalix were arrested, kidnapped, and tortured for 5 months. They were living in poor neighborhoods, and that's where they were arrested by the army. During those months, the young superior, Jorge Bergoglio, asked military leaders for their release. On 2 occasions, he even managed to talk to General Videla. Nevertheless, when they were released, some accused Bergoglio of not doing enough to prevent their arrest. Experts still disagree on what actually happened, but no other account is more credible than that of surviving victim, Father Francisco Yalix. Nobel Peace Prize winner Adolfo Perez Esquivel has also weighed in.
The Pope had nothing to do with the dictatorship. He was not involved with it. No. Even though he wasn't among the bishops who publicly denounced it, he defended human rights and carried out more of a quiet diplomacy.
He would come and visit and we would meet. But there's a story we all laugh about now. It's actually not that funny, but it shows that I was pretty stupid at the time. I had serious problems with the federal police, among other things. As a criminal judge, I imposed sentences they weren't used to following. So if you were accused of illegal detentions, torture, or whatever, you would face me in court. I was a judge, and I had been appointed as a criminal judge. So Jorge told me, the situation will get serious. I would like you to come live with us at the Colegio Maximo because you are at risk. I responded in a very naive way. I answered as if I was the goddess of Buenos Aires. I told him I would rather be arrested by the soldiers than to go live with priests. Well, immediately after the coup, I was stripped of all my judicial powers. After that, Jorge came to see me at least once a week. He kept me up to date on everything that was going on, what he was or wasn't involved in, and I would tell him about other matters. We were always very close. I know exactly what Jorge did. I know he was concerned with these types of issues. That's why it hurt me so much when he was accused of being involved. Some thought he collaborated with the military, which is completely false.
He never talked about this issue. He was accused and there were campaigns against him, so he decided not to talk about it. When we were working on his book, the issue was raised. Sergio thought it was time to speak out about this issue, and Jorge completely agreed. For the first time he talked about this, about his truth, his vision. He then told us something beautiful. He told us he had suffered a lot over this. But one day he visited a synagogue where he heard a biblical phrase that read, "In the face of mockery, be silent." This gave him inner peace.
Bergoglio had a choice. He could publicly denounce the abuse and be recognized as a great outspoken leader, or he could use the less visible road to not provoke the army. He chose the second option. When a cardinal is elected pope, he changes his name because a new chapter in his life begins. Jorge Mario Bergoglio chose the name Francis, a direct reference to the saint of poverty, detachment, piety, and the indifference to power. Pope Francis is the first in many ways. He is the protagonist of an unprecedented historical shift. He is the first pope from the New World and the first Jesuit pope. He chose a name that had never been chosen before.
E un altro mi ha detto no, il tuo nome dovrebbe essere Clemente. Ma perché? Clemente XV, così ti vindichi contro Clemente XIV che ha soppresso la Compagnia di Gesù.
The inspiration came to him when he said he was embraced by the Brazilian cardinal next to him. The Pope says he comforted me because the votes were coming in and he saw I was getting scared.
E quando I voti sono saliti ai 2/3, deviene l'applauso consueto perché è stato eletto il Papa. E lui mi abbracciò, mi baciò e mi ha detto: non ti dimentichi dei poveri. E quella parola è entrata qui, i poveri, i poveri. Poi, subito, in relazione ai poveri, ho pensato a Francesco de Assisi.
Su predilección por los pobres, bueno, yo supongo...
His love for the poor, well, I guess that comes from his parish work with youths.
Parroquial, con los jóvenes de la parroquia.
Or reading the Bible, the Gospel.
Leyendo la Biblia, el Evangelio.
When his term as head of the Jesuits in Argentina ended, he became a parish priest in the Church of San Jose. He says those were the best years of his life. There, he faced serious social problems head-on: drugs, unemployment, insecurity. This opened a new chapter where he made an effort to be with the marginalized. It was an intense experience that marked his life forever. His way of life didn't change much when John Paul II appointed him Auxiliary Bishop of Buenos Aires in 1992, nor did it change 6 years later when he became the city's Archbishop. Despite the new roles, he always stayed true to his personal style. His responsibilities changed, but his character didn't. He was a leader among the people.
Bergoglio has the gift of being able to shelter the fragile, those who are suffering. I've never seen anybody with the capacity to work like that. Nobody.
We sometimes think of the bishop as a type of prince, with us kissing his ring. He never wanted that. Instead, he walks along with the people of God. He is all about the working class, being on the subway, the streets, on the bus among the people.
When he was made a cardinal, he used his predecessor's purple robes to avoid unnecessary expenses. He asked his family and friends not to travel to Rome for the ceremony, but instead to give that money to the poor.
Non dimentichiamo mai che il vero potere è il servizio.